Today's verdict, obviously a lot to digest, so to help us better understand what happened in court and what could be next, Angela Cenedella joins us live. She's an attorney and NewsNation legal analyst. Angela, you've joined us a few times this week. We appreciate you coming back for this verdict.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so we just heard Rutaba's breakdown of Wisconsin gun laws there. So talk about how did the specifics of the laws potentially influence the jury's decisions?
Entirely. So I think what's important to understand about juries is that they're not supposed to come into this with any political opinions or any bias or anything outside of the specific statutes and the facts that they are presented with. So in this case here, they looked at the videos, they looked at the facts, and they made very specific, narrow decisions that aren't supposed to have wide-reaching political effects.
And Angela, we know, again, at one point the jury had asked for some clarification. They had a question there. Are you at all surprised that the verdict was consistent on all counts? Did you expect or think maybe there'd be a guilty verdict on at least one of the counts? I mean, obviously he was facing 5 counts.
I did. I think it was a surprise that he was acquitted across the board. Generally, acquittals tend to come earlier, and the more that juries deliberate, it's generally not so good for the defendants. So it was surprising here that they all agreed on acquittals across the board.
And we heard a little bit about it in Rutaba's piece there. The case we know hinged on self-defense. Explain how the defense was successful, because Rittenhouse was out past curfew. He was carrying that assault rifle during those protests, and prosecutors had argued that he initiated the violence. So why didn't that stick?
So self-defense here is so interesting because it's not even that Kyle's team had to prove that he acted in self-defense. It's that the prosecution had to disprove it in order for that claim to not stick. And here it seems the prosecution did not sufficiently disprove it. So what this means is that the jury did not think that Kyle provoked it. They did not think that by AR-15 there, that was provocation enough to limit his right to self-defense. So I do think that there's a lot here regarding self-defense the jury really pontificated on and speculated about, and I'm sure that's ultimately where this entire case came down to.
All right, so you're saying there, the prosecution did not prove it. Let's also talk about the count that was thrown out, what Rutaba really just told us about. So it was a misdemeanor. It was in relation to the definition of a long gun. Obviously, what Kyle was carrying did not meet that definition. Is it possible that a variation of that charge could be brought, or at this point, would that be double jeopardy?
At this point, I don't believe anything will be brought towards him. The only thing I can think of would be a civil suit from the victims' families because they still have that avenue to file wrongful death claims. But criminally, he is not going to be charged for having a gun or for anything. He's free from prison at this point.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that. How does Kyle Rittenhouse move forward and live a quote-unquote normal life at this point? Based on our country's judicial system, as you just said, he is not guilty. He's free to go about his business. But is that even possible considering the level of national attention this case is receiving?
It is going to be extremely difficult for him to reintegrate, as frankly, it's difficult for any defendant, especially in a high-profile case like this. That is not something that, as a lawyer, I could help him with, but I understand that this is going to be a process for sure.
And my last question for you, Angela, and I don't. This really is going to, ask you to maybe step outside of your lawyer hat there, take that off a bit. But people, when it comes to this case, people feel very strongly about it. So people feel that, he was right to get off, to not be charged, and there are other people who, on the flip side, feel like, justice was not served here. What does today's decision, what does this case really tell us about our judicial system?
I think it tells us about how the jury applied the facts in this precise case. So people will read into this, and you will hear people saying that this is a referendum on the Second Amendment or on self-defense or on racism. But you have to understand that the jury here is specifically instructed to not take any of that into account, to only look at whether or not the prosecution proved, in this case, beyond a reasonable doubt, that he was guilty. That means that the jury had to be over 95% sure that the prosecution proved or disproved self-defense. So I think it's very dangerous for people to take this and say this means XYZ about our country. I think truly it means the jury did their job here very narrowly, very specifically, which is all you can ask any jury to do in a criminal justice case.
And last question, considering he was found not guilty, I told you the other one was the last question. I just thought of another one. You are a lawyer, so now that obviously hindsight always 20/20, would you have done something different? Were you a prosecutor in this case, looking back and seeing what happened, mistakes that were made, et cetera, et cetera?
I was surprised towards the end of the trial how I didn't feel the prosecution was focusing on disproving self-defense specifically. So once you're aware that self-defense is the entire defense claim and the prosecution has the burden to disprove it beyond a reasonable doubt, had I been the prosecutor in that case, I would have focused on it. But the closing arguments, I thought, really focused more on just the threat. I didn't think it really focused on that specifically.
Angela Cenedella, we appreciate your expertise as always. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.